Today we're going to be adding and subtracting rational expressions. Remember, a rational expression is just a fraction with a numerator and a denominator. And so long as we have the same denominator, we can add the numerators. So I see that I have the exact same thing in my denominator. So I'm going to go ahead and write down my common denominator. And then I'm going to add my numerators. So I have v minus 3 plus 2. Then we simplify our numerator. I don't have another v expression, so I'm just going to bring down the v. In this step, we are adding like terms. I have a negative 3 plus 2, so that's going to be negative 1 all over my denominator. On some tests, you might see this as an answer, or you might see it in factored form. Remember, factored form is really good if you have to graph and you need to know what your domain is, because we can't divide by 0. So you might see it written like this. So we can't do anything to that numerator, but in the denominator, I can factor out the GCF, which is 4v. So 4v squared divided by 4v is v, and 16v divided by 4v is 4. And as you can see that if we plugged in 0, that would make us have a 0 in the denominator, which is, we can't do that. That would be undefined. And then here, if we plug in negative 4, that would also give us 0. So either expression is a correct answer. And again, you might see it either way. So in number 2, we are subtracting. Again, if we have a common denominator, we're just going to be combining the numerators. So I'm going to go ahead and write down that common denominator. And then I'm going to write down my numerators. This time I have a minus, so I'm going to be subtracting that whole binomial. So I'm going to put that binomial in parentheses. Okay, the next thing I want to do is go ahead and clear those parentheses. So I'm going to distribute the negative. That will make that negative x, and then a negative 1 times 5 would make that negative 5. So you can think of it as taking the opposite of each, or just multiplying both by negative 1. And then bring down our denominator. And so this is the part you have to watch out for. If that's a minus, you're going to need to distribute that to both terms, or every term in your numerator. Now we're going to be looking to simplify the numerator, so we're looking for like terms. Here I have a 3x minus x, so that's going to give me 2x, and that leaves me with 4 minus 5, which is negative 1, all over my common denominator. Okay, so this is a perfectly good answer, but if you need to find out what those excluded values are, then factor. So here we would leave the numerator alone, nothing to take out there. On the bottom, we can take out a 3. 3x squared divided by 3 leaves me with x squared, and negative 12 divided by 3 leaves me with negative 4. And we could even take that further and factor that dots. Again, either expression is okay. So number 3, we notice that we do not have the same denominator, so we need the least common denominator. I'm just going to write that over here on the side. I'm going to need the factor 3b minus 1. So that's a binomial. I'm going to put that in parentheses. And I'm going to need a 5. Okay, so this is going to be my new denominator. So we're going to look at each expression and think about what we would need to multiply the denominator by to get the least common denominator. Well, I already have the 3b minus 1. I just need the 5. And since that's a monomial, I'm just going to park that in front. So I'm going to multiply the top and the bottom by 5. And that way I haven't changed its meaning, because we know 5 divided by 5 is just 1. So that's okay. That's perfectly legal. And since this is a binomial, I'm just going to put each of these in parentheses. Okay, for the next one, 3b over 5, it is missing the 3b minus 1, so we'll multiply the top and bottom by 3b minus 1, keeping it in parentheses since it's more than one term. Okay, now we have the common denominator, 5 times 3b minus 1. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that on the bottom. So they each have those factors. And in the numerator, we're going to have 5 times 4b plus 3 plus 3b times 3b minus 1. And next we'll clear out those parentheses in the numerator. 5 times 4b is 20b. 5 times 3 is 15. 3b times 3b is 9b squared, and 3b times negative 1 is negative 3b, all over that LCD. Now we'll combine like terms, and I'm just going to put this in standard form as I go. So my highest exponent is 2. I don't see another b squared term, so I'm going to go ahead and write down 9b squared. Next we'll go to the b terms, so I've got a 20b minus 3b, and that gives us 17b, and then plus 15, all over 5 times 3b minus 1. If we were to try to factor the numerator on this one, it would not factor over rational numbers, so we can just leave our answer like this. So in number 4, we're going to need both of these factors in our least common denominator. So we're going to need an x plus 4 and x plus 2. So we want to rewrite that first expression and think about how we can turn this denominator into the common denominator. So it's missing the x plus 2. So we're just going to multiply the top and bottom by x plus 2, and since that's a binomial, we'll put that in parentheses. We'll just pop parentheses around that one too. All right, in the second expression, we have 2 over x plus 2, and we think about how can we turn this into the common denominator? Well, it's missing the x plus 4. So we'll just multiply that top and bottom to keep it legal. Binomials in parentheses. So our common denominator was x plus 4 times x plus 2. In our numerator, we're going to have, let's just go ahead and write it out. 6x times x plus 2, and then minus 2 times x plus 4. And now we'll distribute. 6x times x is 6x squared. 6x times 2 is 12x. Negative 2 times x is negative 2x. Negative 2 times 4 is negative 8. Remember to distribute that negative to both. And then our LCD. Next, we'll simplify the numerator. I don't see another squared term, so that's just 6x squared. And then I have 12x minus 2x. That's going to be 10x, and then minus 8. Okay, and in this step, you might want to make sure that there aren't any common binomials that we could cancel. So let's go ahead and take a 2 out of the numerator. So that'll be 6x squared divided by 2 is 3x squared. 10x divided by 2 is 5x. And then negative 8 divided by 2 is negative 4. All over x plus 4, x plus 2. Okay, and then to check that trinomial, That's an AC, so it'd be 3 times negative 4 is negative 12, and there aren't any factors of negative 12 that are going to add up to be 5. So this is as far as we can go. And again, you might see this answer or this one, and you may even see the denominator folded out. And that is adding and subtracting rational expressions. Have a good day.